कैसे लॉगिन हो रहा है, तभी फोटो दिखा नहीं था। बाद में मैंने देखा तो आपको उन्होंने सेम लिंक सर, हाँ अब ठीक है सर। वेलकम सर। जितेंद्र शर्मा जी, आपके वहां पर कोविड क्या कह रहे हैं सर, गुजरात साइड में, अहमदाबाद?
कौन कहता है, कौन है
मतलब वो क्या स्पीड चल रही है कोविड की वहां पर सर? यहाँ पर तो इतनी स्पीड बढ़ रही है कि 5-7 दिन में पसीने छूटने लगे सबके सर।
मतलब कैसे मालूम चलता है क्या स्पीड है?
अरे सर सडनली जब आते हैं कि बेड्स में जगह नहीं है, मतलब हॉस्पिटल में बेड्स नहीं है, तो हम कहते
अच्छा,
हैं भाई स्पीड बढ़ गई। तो अभी कैसा है कि बोरीवली, कांदिवली, मलाड साइड पे और मीरा भाईंदर में अराउंड 15 दिन पहले काफी बेड्स वैकेंट थे, मतलब बेड्स वॉज ऐसा कुछ नहीं। कितने सारे प्राइवेट कोविड हॉस्पिटल सोच रहे थे कि हम नॉन कोविड हो जाए भाई, क्योंकि वो अभी जीरो है। एंड सडनली अभी हमें फ्रेंड्स के और रिलेटिव से जब फोन आते हैं ना सर गायनेक को कि यार कहीं बेड है क्या, और फिर हम कॉल करते हैं और मालूम पड़ता है कहीं बेड नहीं है, फिर हमें लगता है कि यार अचानक क्या हो गया 4-5 दिन में। सो दैट इज द रीजन आई टोल्ड कि नंबर ऑफ केसेस सडनली गॉन अप, एडमिशंस हैव गॉन अप एंड बेड्स। इसलिए बोला कि व्हाट्स हैपनिंग इन गुजरात सर आपके उधर?
शुक्ला जी
सर तुमचा नेटवर्क थोडं हे थोडं स्लो आहे, तर आवाज ब्रेक होते, तो मे बी व्हिडिओ ऑफ करावा लागेल.
Sir, everywhere the cases are increasing, as you said.
Yes.
So, that may be due to new strain and which may be more contagious.
Can we, sir, one more observation which I would like to share, because still the webinar is not started. Unofficial platform I can share. When this vaccination drive started, when vaccination was given to healthcare workers, they were conscious because they themselves are healthcare workers. When senior citizens, the amount of workload of senior citizens slightly more, when they were made to wait for half an hour for observation, if that space, because senior citizens a lot of time they start talking to the other person, kaka aap kem cho baddu, kaun laya, because they half an hour 60s 70s and their mask are down and distance is maybe not that much possible and feasible because of that space constraint. Because a lot of cases we are seeing कि post vaccination हो गया, अभी post vaccination कैसे होगा, वैक्सीन से नहीं होने वाला है, तुम लोग ही ब्रीच किया रहेगा प्रोटोकॉल.
Sir, our tragedy is that in India, पार्लियामेंट पासिस दी पॉलिसी कि किसको कब वैक्सीन देना है, और पार्लियामेंट में कौन बैठे हैं वो आपको भी पता है, मुझे भी पता है. So this is the tragedy in India.
I know.
What is the meaning of passing such things, such policies in parliament, that to whom should be given vaccine, should be given to whom? So बहुत सारी policies हैं, we can discuss it in details.
I know.
But
I think so. Next 2 minutes we'll start. I'll just speak to Dr. Pankaj sir, secretary, and then we will open the house. Piyush, once I'll tell you, then you allow everybody to log in, because speakers have logged in. Dr. Nikhil Datta, Dr. Jitendra Sharma, and Maharashtra State President Dr. Ramakrishna Lunde sir are already in. I'll just speak to Dr. Pankaj Bhandarkar. I told him that the link will come in the email, because if they join from the common link, they might be in the waiting room. Network problem. Okay. Sorry. 2 minutes थांबतो, otherwise we will start, because 9. Yeah. Try. No problem. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he has some network issues. He told if I am not able to log in next 1 minute, you can start. So basically 9:05 we'll start. काफी exhausted लग रहे हैं सर आज आप, जितेंद्र सर?
No, not at all.
So Piyush, what do you suggest? We can start allowing people to enter, because that will also take around 1 minute to 2 minutes.
Yeah, we already have actually. There are already even attendees.
Okay.
And we are live on YouTube.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I did not want to break your conversation.
Yeah, no problem. So next, maybe around 2 minutes we'll start. People keep joining in.
Sure, you may start.
Yeah, already 27 participants, so people are logging in, because normally 9:05, 9:07 people log in for the maximum. So they'll add. But normally we start so that we get good amount of time to discuss.
Yes, we will.
सुरू करायचे का?
हाँ सर, चालू करू आपण. So I will start. So I welcome you all. First of all, happy Holi. to every member, and hope COVID ends faster so that we can celebrate all our festivals with full freedom and no COVID appropriate behavior. But maybe it's time for us to learn to stay with the virus for a longer period. So I directly request Dr. Ramkrishna Londe sir, our IMA Maharashtra State President, to start today's webinar. लोंढे सर, तुम्ही हे करू शकता, वेलकम करू शकता, then I will introduce the speaker.
Okay.
Right, sir.
Yes. Good evening to all. First of all, best wishes for Holi. Welcome to this webinar, particularly on recent amendments on MTP Act. Our State Secretary, Honorable Dr. Pankaj Bandarkar sir, Moderator Ashok Shukla ji, Dr. Dinesh Thakre, Dr. Abhay Shapurkar, Dr. Utture sir, Honorable Speakers, Dr. Jitendra Sharma ji, Dr. Nikhil Datta. I hope this webinar will be very much useful to all concerned, and it will throw some light over these new amendments on MTP Act. Best wishes for the webinar go to Dr. Ashok Shukla ji.
Thank you. Piyush, in between, I will be sending messages to Deepen because there are some IMA leaders and in fact Dr. Shivkumar Utture sir who have joined with the attendees link instead of their own personal link which was in their email. So then you have to shift them in the panelists so they can be live. So we'll directly go to the first talk about the recent amendments in the MTP Act. Now everybody knows the MTP Act is a very old act, but there is recent something which has happened, which I feel every member should be aware. And I would like to introduce our speaker, a renowned speaker, Dr. Jitendra Sharma sir. He is a practicing gynecologist and obstetrician in Ahmedabad for 28 years. He is a gynecologist as well as a legally qualified. He is a medical legal counselor. He done his LLB with 16 gold medals, topped in Gujarat University, author of many books like Law in Obstetric and Gynec Practices, Concerned in Obstetric and Gynec, Law a Doctor Must Know. He's given more than 1,500 lectures. I think so more would have been added. Vice President-elect of FOXI 2022, Chairperson Ethics and Medical Legal Committee FOXI 2017 to 2019, President of Ahmedabad Obstetric Gynec Society 2016 to 17, hosted AICUG in 2017 Jan, Honorary Joint Secretary of Sajog 2017-19. So over to Dr. Jitendra Sharma sir.
So, dear friends, happy Holi to all of you. At the outset, I would like to thank IMA Maharashtra for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to talk about recent amendments in MTP Act. A special thanks to Ram Krishna sir, Dr. Ashok Shukla sir, and all organizers of this webinar. See, as we all know that we were discussing these MTP amendments since long, and almost everybody was knowing even before this was passed in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha that amendment is going to come and what are those. Even many people have started implementing this amendment even before it has been passed in Rajya Sabha. So every now and then we were getting the call, sir, wo amendment to aa gaya na 24 weeks wala, and they have started terminating the pregnancy even after 20 weeks way back before even 1 year. So let us discuss what is Amendment Act and how it should be followed. So we all know, sir, that MTP Amendment Bill was put in Parliament in 2020, early March. In February, rather 14th February 2020, it was put in Parliament, by our Honorable Minister Harshvardhan ji, and it got passed on 20th March of 2020 in Lok Sabha. We were waiting it to be passed in Rajya Sabha, and it took 1 year to be discussed in Rajya Sabha and to get it passed. So on 20th March, it is passed in Rajya Sabha now. And recently, on 25th March, it has got assent from the President, and it is notified in the Gazette for the public information. Now, let me clear here that although it is notified, it got assent from the President, but when you read that act, Amendment Act, Section 1 subsection 2 specifically has mentioned that this act will come into action from the date when central government will notify again in the Gazette. So central government, I will give you an example. See, in Consumer Protection Act, it was passed on 8th August 2019, but rules were framed on 15th July 2020, and it is implemented from 20th July 2020. So basically, when it was gazetted and it is mentioned in the Gazette that from which date, particular date, this act is to be implemented. So let us keep in our mind that even though it is gazetted, even though President assent is also there, but till date, it is notified by the central government that from which particular date it is implemented. Usually it is implemented once the rules and regulations according to this act will be framed. And after that, usually the act is implemented. So till date, we are supposed to follow, according to my understanding, we are supposed to follow our old MTP Act 1971. Now, what are the amendments and what are the ultimate problems with the amendments? See, I am a critic and I will like to criticize a few things which are there in this MTP Act. We all know Section 2 of almost all acts are definitions. And in particularly this amendment, they have included two definitions. One definition, what is medical board? So that is defined that whatever is written in Section 2 Section 3 subsection 2C, that will be a medical board. So that is okay. But the second definition, that is Section 2 subsection EE, in E, they have tried to define what is medical termination of pregnancy. Now, we were discussing every time in every conference that MTP Act is there, but even in that MTP Act, what is the meaning of MTP is nowhere defined. In our books also, even abortion or MTP is not clearly defined, whether it is 20 weeks, whether it is 500 gram, whether it is up to the age of viability. So if you go to the different textbook, you will find a different definition of medical termination of pregnancy or abortion. So basically, still we are lacking that definition, because here government has tried to put a section which defines MTP, and what they have said that any termination of pregnancy by any medical or any surgical technique, that is known as MTP. Now what does it mean? It is nowhere clear. Up to 24 weeks, up to 28 weeks, up to 30 weeks, or at term. You are terminating the pregnancy even at 38 weeks. Whether government is trying to say that even at 38 weeks, if you will terminate the pregnancy by cesarean section, it will be considered as medical termination of pregnancy. They have created a mess by putting this definition, or I can say the casual definition of MTP. That is the one point. Second, in Section 3, so many things are being changed. Okay, we all know that previously we required opinion of one registered medical practitioner when we were terminating the pregnancy up to 12 weeks. And when you were terminating the pregnancy in between 12 to 20 weeks, not less than 2 RMPs had to opine in Form 1 in good faith that under what indication this termination is to be allowed. So now what is the amendment? And after 20 weeks, MTP Act, there was no provision of MTP, and MTP Act was not providing you the protection of MTP Act after 20 weeks. There were definite defenses with you under IPC, but MTP Act was not protecting a doctor up to 20 weeks. Now, I will like to quote here, although this termination period is being increased from 20 weeks to 24 weeks, or even after that, with the opinion of medical board. But as far as my knowledge is concerned, whoever has terminated about 20 weeks, particularly in cases of anencephaly, I have never found a single case filed against any doctor. That is not in my knowledge. Maybe somewhere, maybe filed, but there was no case for terminating an anencephaly patient after 20 weeks, or for some absolutely lethal anomaly where these chances of survival to fetus was nil. And that is not in my knowledge that even a single doctor is punished for this thing. So that is my personal opinion, that I had even terminated anencephaly even after 20 weeks in many cases. And I have never found a case in which doctor is convicted for terminating the 100% lethal anomalized fetus even after 20 weeks. So whether the need was there or not, that is not the question today, but we are discussing that we have what we have got from this MTP Act, Amendment Act. So dear friends, now you all know that you can terminate the pregnancy up to 20 weeks with the opinion of only one RMP. So only one opinion will be required to terminate the pregnancy up to 20 weeks. Now, in between 20 to 24 weeks, they have said that you will require the opinion of not less than 2 RMP. So basically, previously, what was there in 12 to 20 weeks, now that is there in 20 to 24 weeks. Now, let us see under what indication you can terminate. Now, you know that contraceptive failure indication was previously available only to a married woman when there is contraceptive failure used by herself or by her husband. Now, these two words are changed. The word married woman is replaced by woman, and her husband is replaced by her partner. So that means that is a clear view that they have now intention to give this indication, benefit of this indication to unmarried girl also who are having relationship with any of her partner. He may be husband or may not be husband. So basically, the contraceptive failure indication will be available. Now, as we know, there were 5 indications previously as such, which are as per this form 2. And it is clarified in first indication that you can terminate the pregnancy when there is a danger to the life of the patient. That is still there. And second, whenever there is risk or torture, mental or physical, to the patient. Now, what is mental torture is same in this definition also. Previously, it was said that if pregnancy is the result of contraceptive failure, then it amounts to a mental torture to a woman, and under that indication you can terminate the pregnancy. And in the same way, when pregnancy is caused by rape, that is also considered as a mental torture on a woman. So these 2 indications were considered as a mental torture, and under that indication termination was allowed. Now it is clarified that you can terminate the pregnancy for contraceptive failure and other indication up to 20 weeks. And specifically, they have mentioned that for rape, in rape, you can terminate up to 24 weeks. Now, what if somebody comes with the pregnancy, with the rape at 26 weeks or 28 weeks? Dear friends, it is not clear in this particular act, because after 24 weeks, they have allowed termination of pregnancy with the opinion of state medical board, which will be formed later on by every state or union territory. Now, it is said that after 24 weeks, the indication allowed will be congenital malformation and diagnosed by that medical board that the continuation of pregnancy is not desired or MTP should be allowed. Now, what will be the rules and regulation for medical board? That will be defined later on in the rules. But it is clearly mentioned that after 24 weeks, the congenital malformation will be the sole criteria to be decided by medical board. So they have not mentioned rape after 24 weeks. Now, I would like to quote that in many cases, many high courts have given permission to terminate pregnancy in cases of gang rape, which has crossed 24 weeks. Even at 28 weeks, termination is allowed in many cases when pregnancy is caused by gang rape. Now, what does they want to say? I don't know. Now they are saying that even in a rape patient, they will allow the termination up to 24 weeks with the opinion of 2 registered medical practitioners. So the situation will remain same, that if it will be about 24 weeks, then they will have to pursue to different courts. Because it is not clear that district medical board, whether they will be allowed to take decision in such cases or not. Over and above, in section 5, we all know this is a serious thing. See, for last 1 year, since I was contesting the election in Foxy, I used to take lectures very frequently under different subjects. And we have discussed multiple times that everything is good. See, we have attained a lot through this amendment, that this 12 weeks has now 20 weeks with one opinion, now 20 to 24 weeks allowed for different indications. The government will come out with the indication under which you can terminate the pregnancy in between 20 to 24 weeks with 2 opinions. Even after 24 weeks, you will be able to terminate. These all things are very good. But one thing, I was cautioning everybody from the very beginning. I have written multiple times to our associations, including Foxy, to represent our fraternity in the court of law and to fight it out. The one cause, that is section 5A. We all know that section 5A is been added. Previously, we all know that there is section 7 in MTP Act itself. And if you will go through the section 7, it has 2 parts, section 1 and 2. And the first part has 3 A, B, C subsections. And it is clear in those sections that if you will breach the confidentiality of the patient undergoing MTP in your clinic, so if you will reveal by chance, the word used is willingly or unwillingly. If you have revealed the name of the patient, it amounts to breach of regulation, MTP regulation. And when somebody breaches the regulation, then the fine was only 1,000 rupees. So when you breach any, suppose you forgot to fill form 1, that is opinion form. If you forgot to send the report, monthly report to the authority in form 2, or suppose there is breach of confidentiality on the part of doctor, then there was provision of only 1,000 rupees fine. But dear friends, in this new subsection, 5 subsection A, 5 capital A, which is added in the section of punishment, now it has been put that if there is a breach of confidentiality, or if you will reveal the name of the patient to anybody except the authority of law, means except to any government authority or required by the law, then it amounts to breach of confidentiality. And there is a provision for breach of confidentiality. You may be punished up to 1 year imprisonment with or without fine. Now, the question is not that whether there is a provision of punishment or not, or whether this is added. See, this should be, I want to say that whenever there is a punishment, okay, then you have to define that word, what is breach of confidentiality. Otherwise, you cannot put any punishment for the same. Suppose in section 375, you define what is rape. Then in section 376, you define that what are the punishment for different kinds of rape. So for giving punishment, particular this section is to be defined, or particular words is to be defined. Now, whenever there is a punishment of imprisonment, it amounts to a criminal liability. Okay. So breaching confidentiality will be put now in as a criminal liability. Now, when it is a criminal liability, but there is no definition what amounts to breach of confidentiality. And that is our problem. Either define what is breach of confidentiality clearly or exhaustively to decide that whether you are going to be punished or not. I will give an example. Suppose one police person comes to your clinic and demands the detail of one patient who has filed a case against her husband that I had been raped, or against his boyfriend, her boyfriend, that I had been raped. And suppose if you give that name of that patient to the police person, whether it amounts to breach of confidentiality or not, it is not clear in the act. Second, suppose you prescribe MTP pill on prescription. Now, as far as I know, according to Cosmetic and Drug Act, and even according to new telemedicine guideline, and even in our Indian Medical Association, okay, the Code of Conduct Etiquette Ethics Regulation 2002, it is clearly mentioned that whenever you prescribe something to the patient, what should be the requirement? What should be included in that prescription? Okay, so name of the patient is one of the requirement that you have to write the name of the patient. Now suppose you prescribe MTP pill by any name on prescription with the name of the patient. Will it amount to breach of confidentiality of the patient? Because pharmacist is going to provide medicine. He will come to know that she is undergoing MTP. So whether this will amount to breach of confidentiality or not, it is not clear in the act. And something which is not clear in the act at all, the punishment for the same for 1 year imprisonment is not acceptable, and it is not reasonable or logical according to any law in this world. So we have to define first. And second thing, that it is clearly visible in this act that no legal person or medical legal person is taken into confidence at all while amending this act, because the same act, they have not amended section 7 and now they have added section 5 capital A. Now in the same act there are two provisions which contradict each other. Section 5A says that for breach of confidentiality you will be punished for 1 year imprisonment with or without fine. And on the other side, section 7, which is not till date removed in this amendment, it is mentioned that for breaching of any regulation or for breaching the confidentiality of a woman, you will be punished only for 1,000 rupees fine. Now in the same act, there are two kinds of punishment for the same thing. This make this act illogical, I can say illegal. If I can use the word more elaborately, it is illegal. Nobody can write two different kinds of punishment for the same offense in the same act at two different places. So there are many loopholes in MTP Amendment Act. Actually, going through the act, it is clearly visible that no proper opinion is being taken by any of the authority. And I am really unhappy to say that no association has ever put this confidential or opposed this confidentiality clause under the fear that if we will put this objection at any level, then other benefits which we are going to get will be removed. So we, to get 4 benefits, we succumb to one thing. So there was a need to counter this particular section of confidentiality. And still we can think now already this act is passed, and we all know that now to change the act or amend it again, how difficult it is. So we all know that to amend the act is difficult, but before the act is passed, we could have done much for the same. So this thing, we have missed our train, particularly for this part. Now in section 6, power to make rules. Okay. So we all know power to amend act and power to make rules are the powers with the central government under MTP Act, and power to make regulation is with the state government. Now we all know that what are the regulation, what are they about, and what are rules. We all know that form A, B, C are the part of rules. And form 1, 2, 3, that 1 means opinion form, 2 means reporting form, monthly reporting form, and 3 means that is the 14 column register, MTP register. Okay. Now it is not clear. 1, 2, 3 are the part of regulation. Now, whether regulation they are going to allow to be framed by state government, because now they have said that who is RMP will be defined again by the central government, because in section 6 in power of make rules they have added 3 powers, and in that they have mentioned that what particular RMP will be allowed to sign the opinion will be decided in the rules by the central government. So who is eligible to give opinion will be decided by the central government. How this district state medical board will be formed, who are the members, the criteria will be decided by the central government. Under what indication, what will be the powers of that district state medical board, that also will be decided by the central government. Now, what regulation this state government will make, because regulation regarding confidentiality is already taken by central government, regulation for deciding that who can give the opinion, that is also taken by the central government. So what will be the regulation? What will be the actual structure of regulation in future? That is not clear in the act itself. So dear friends, in MTP Act, there are many loopholes. And although it is a simple 8-section act, and it is surprising to see that our draft people who are there to draft an act has done disaster in this particular act. And the problem of the main problem which was affecting our fraternity member was not represented by anybody in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha, or no written objection was ever sent. But as far as my knowledge is concerned, I don't know if somebody has sent officially. So regrets for the same if my knowledge is less. But as far as I know, nobody had represented this. Being a gynecologist, I feel ashamed. Being elected as a vice president of FOXI, I feel ashamed that I could not do anything, because I could not do anything personally. I had asked officials to represent, to clear their stand, to demand this particular section is to be removed from the amendment. But nobody came forward, nobody tried to do the same, and nobody put this in the knowledge of government. So dear friends, hope I have elaborated many things which are there in the Amendment Act. Although we have today with us Nikhil Datar with us, that he is instrumental in getting this amendment done. We all know the case of Nikita Mehta, which was the start of this particular amendment. He was also the party in Supreme Court in these type of cases where they have mentioned or they demanded the increase of the this 24 week up to 24 weeks. So we will like to hear him that what is his opinion now. And thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity to put my views in front of all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gitendra Sharma. We will be taking questions at the end after Dr. Nikhil speaks, so that we I would request people who have any questions to put in the chat box. I would like to welcome Dr. Shivkumar Utre sir, who is Maharashtra Medical Council chairperson, who has joined. Dr. Santosh Kadam sir, Dr. Alka Kuthe madam, all IMA state and national leaders who have joined. I would like to welcome them. We'll directly go to the second talk by Dr. Nikhil Datar. Piyush, can you display his slide? Piyush, are you there? Or I'll directly introduce, I think so. So I would like to welcome Dr. Nikhil Datar, Professor Dr. Nikhil Datar, MD, DNB, FCPS, FICOG, LLB, DGO, DHA. He is a medico-legally qualified legally, as well as he's a gynecologist. He's consultant gynecologist and medical director at Cloud9 Group of Hospitals, Mumbai, founder, president, Patient Safety Alliance, consultant and director, Life Wave Hospital and Yashoda Hospital, visiting professor at Maharashtra National Law University, well known for his health right as a health right activist whose judicial activism paved way for the amendment of MTP Act, received awards like Commonwealth Professional Fellowship by United Kingdom, Australian American Foundation Fellowship for Health Rights, Mehman-e-Watan Award by Sindh Government, Pakistan, Dr. B.N. Purandare Gold Medal and Dr. Dastoor Gold Medal. So over to Dr. Nikhil Datar. Already Dr. Jitendra Sharma has done the basic that why we have invited Dr. Nikhil Datar, because he is the instrumental who spent many years, and then the government was forced to do these amendments. So let us listen whether he is happy or whether we got what we expected or what his journey started. So over to Dr. Nikhil Datar.
Thank you, Ashok, for the kind words. Thank you, Jitendra, for making my job very simple, because most of the things that I would have had to say, more or less, you have covered them. I almost thought Jitendra has forgotten me at all completely, but in the end, thank you very much for mentioning me, and that underlines the importance of one single person who stands, and constantly fights. No medical organization, in spite of he being the Foxy vice president, the organization paid a deaf ear to what he was trying to do, and you can understand what must have been my plight. No medical organization has ever reported, supported, stood by, or tried to put a consolidated fight. And I think it's a very large message from Dr. Sharma's speech, and which I would like to once again reiterate on this forum, that we have been constantly missing buses all the time, whether it is PCPNDT, whether it is POXO, now whether it is MTP. We just have distanced ourselves so much so from the legalities and from the legal things that are happening, that we just keep on missing the bus all the time. We are so lazy, so lethargic, or probably we are so busy, with our medical practice or our politics of medical organizations. I don't know what to say, but we are so busy in this thing that we just simply don't consider it to be important at all, that the law is going to get changed and we can make wonders, or we can support it, because ultimately it is in our interest also. Because when the law comes up with ambiguity, then solving these ambiguities is like bribing the bureaucracy ultimately. So rather than that, solve the problem ab initio when it is getting drafted, but we all the time keep on missing it. Now, here I must thank IMA Maharashtra State and all the dignitaries and all the office bearers. Kumar sir is also here for this particular talk, and Ashok, of course, who has been instrumental in having me over here. So I'm going to talk about few things. Some of it will be repetition of Jitendra's talk, and some of it will be some original thought process that I have developed over a period of time. Just a quick recap, that I filed the first ever case in the history of Indian judiciary, that is Nikhil Datar, Miss X, Mrs. X and Mr. Y, that represents Nikita Mehta and her husband versus Union of India in the Bombay High Court in 2008, which I lost. And then I filed a special leave petition in the Supreme Court, and basically that leave petition is on the policy matter about the overall MTP, abortion, rights of women about abortion, and all that kind of a thing. And under that particular case, I have so far been instrumental in helping about 194 women, all work done completely pro bono, not a single rupee charge from anybody, whereby we have taken up these matters initially to the Supreme Court. Now we take it to the High Court, and consistently different groups of judges in different high courts and Supreme Courts have been convinced enough by me, through showing the plight of these women to them, that it is necessary for the law to change according to the changing medical technology. You cannot have an instrument of law which is 50 years old when we are in 2021, where the law has completely got changed I mean, when the medicine has completely got changed, the termination of pregnancy has become so safer. Sonography has almost become like a stethoscope. We are able to diagnose abnormalities left, right, center, etc., etc. So 3 different groups of people we were able to showcase, in these cases. One group of people were particularly minor rape survivors. These were girls who were below the age of 18 years and pregnant and then found pregnant beyond 20 weeks. And it made no sense at all to tell them to continue the pregnancy just because they had crossed beyond 20 weeks. So the highest gestation at which termination for such an indication has been done in one of my cases has happened at 31 weeks of pregnancy. This was a girl who actually was from Mumbai, and in those days we used to go to the Supreme Court, and we took 5 weeks in the Supreme Court to get the judgment. And after that, within few weeks, actually, we almost create a chakka jam andolan kind of a thing in the Supreme Court, because we almost blocked all the boards of the Supreme Court. So many cases were there, so we had actually literally blocked the courts completely. And ultimately, Justice Sikri said that you can't kind of keep on doing this. Why are you coming to the Supreme Court? So we said that we have lost in the High Court, so we have no alternative but to come to the Supreme Court. So then he passed an order. He said that okay, you all can now go to the High Court. And I'm very proud to say that judiciary has been extremely sensitive. Average turnaround time of judiciary in all these cases has not been more than 8 to 10 working days. So we have been getting judgment consistently in that 194 cases, whereby we have got judgment between 8 to 10 days. So one group was these girls. Second group was typically those kind of abnormalities which are which can very easily be picked up otherwise. But these women came from low socioeconomic class. By the time they reached the hospital in the 7th month and all that kind of a thing, they had crossed their 20 weeks limit. And though abnormality could have been detected much earlier, it could not get detected just because they did not have the required financial capacity to get their sonography or the healthcare checkup done within the stipulated 20 weeks period. And third group of abnormalities where typically cardiac abnormalities, neurological abnormalities, or doubtful genetic abnormalities, whereby by the time you get to know whether there is a problem or no, they have already crossed over 20 weeks. There's a lot of data which is available medically whereby it is said that the best time to diagnose a neurological or a cardiac abnormality is between 20 to 24 weeks and not before 20 weeks. So that is the third group of abnormalities. By far and large, because of these consistent cases, my preliminary principal petition, that is Nikhil Datar versus Union of India, when it was heard last time, about 2 years back, the principal secretary of government of Ministry of Family Welfare had to file an affidavit in the Supreme Court. And in this affidavit, he had to say this to the court that we agree with what the petitioner is saying, that is what I am saying, and we agree with the fact this law needs to be amended. So they said, and they promised to the Supreme Court that they will bring in an amendment to this particular law. This is what is affidavit filed by the principal secretary, Government of India, in the Supreme Court. And after that, series of things happened, and ultimately we saw these amendments which got passed first in Lok Sabha and then ultimately in Rajya Sabha. So am I happy? Yes, to some extent I'm happy, because of 2 reasons. It has got elevated to 24 weeks, particularly for rape survivors, etc. I am happy because that word married is now removed, and any woman is getting replaced. So I'm happy about that. And I'm happy about the fact that for substantial and serious abnormalities, there is no upper limit to termination of pregnancy legally. Now, on these 3 grounds, I'm definitely happy, and honestly, it will cover significant proportion of our cases, and that's why I would be happy. But I would be unhappy on the grounds that, which is again what Gitendra said, that what are you going to do if a 12-year-old girl comes at 25 weeks or 26 weeks of pregnancy? What are we going to do? Are we going to just tell her that, look, you are 12 years, we understand everything, but sorry, you have missed your bus by 2 weeks. So that's why now you have to give birth to the child, and otherwise again the same story, go to this court, go to that court, etc., etc. So I don't think so. They could have created some kind of a via media for such kind of cases. They could have given these kind of powers, or they could have created some kind of a mechanism so that these girls would not have had to go to the courts anywhere, and they could have still got termination of pregnancy. So that was available, that opportunity was available, but that was not taken by the parliament when they drafted this particular law. I am not quite convinced with Dr. Sharma's argument that for lethal abnormalities, show me whether there is anybody convicted or no. Honestly, first and foremost, I know of 2 cases where there were anencephalic fetuses tried to be terminated. Women went into PPH and they succumbed, or they had serious consequences. And then after that, police cases have been filed against these 2 doctors. So I am aware of these 2 cases. So not to say that for lethal abnormalities, there is no such kind of a case which has been filed. And mind you, one of these kinds of cases is filed against one of a very senior FOXI official only, who has been kind of trying to manage things some way or the other, but no real solution has been found, because everybody knows that beyond 20 weeks termination is not allowed. So no real legal solution is going to be found in such kind of cases. Now, as regards termination is concerned, I mean, even if technically, I mean, I would counter question that how many cases of sex determination cases have been actually filed. Most of the cases for sex determination also have been filed for these non-specific causes of this board and that form and that. I mean, so termination goes off well. It is ultimately patient who has gone off well. Who is going to complain? Nobody is going to complain otherwise. Okay, so generally also nobody is going to complain about any of these kind of things. And police are not interested in finding out suo motu, such kind of things. So just because conviction is not there, or in fact, I would say forget conviction, cases are only not getting filed, but nobody is going to file such kind of cases. So we should not go by conviction and say that, oh, the conviction is not there, that means it should be taken for granted for that for lethal abnormality. Abortion was always allowed in this particular country. I don't think that's the argument that anybody can buy. So the fact was, the act was very clear. And if that was the meaning and the intention, in last 194 cases, court should have actually speaking discharged all the petition. They should have said that, why are you coming to us? For lethal abnormality, you anyways can terminate. Why are you asking these permissions from us? So the fact that courts have taken so much of time in deciding these matters, that itself means that the law was very clear that going beyond 20 weeks for substantial abnormality and serious handicap, termination is not allowed. It was not allowed. I'm going to change, and I'm happy about that. So coming back to the point that these 3 things I'm very happy about. And there are few things I'm not happy about. Now, first thing that I'm not happy about is that even under the current law, medical termination of pregnancy or abortion still doesn't get recognized as a right of a woman. Woman can get termination only if at all she is fitting into one of those 4 or 5 criteria. Otherwise, even if it's a 6 weeks pregnancy, it does not become a right of a woman. So typically, if I look at it from the rights perspective, I would have said that it should have been a woman's right. And in fact, one of the earlier drafts, they had said that up to 12 weeks, no questions asked. If the woman wants a termination, she should be given a termination. So at least her right was going to get recognized up to 12 weeks. But unfortunately, that is not what we are seeing in the amendment. So it is still not a right of a woman. It is a conditional kind of a thing, that if she's fitting into those criteria, only then termination is going to be given to her. So that is one thing that I'm not happy at all. Second thing that I'm not at all happy about, okay, is the medical boards. Now, I must make you understand that the way these medical boards are going to be framed are here is going to, and who else, I think, and then there are many other people who can come in, like
your network is slightly
case
slow.
to case basis, neurologist and this and that. My network is slow?
Yeah, in between your voice was becoming very slow, maybe.
Dr. Shukla, it's not very clear.
Last minute. Please repeat.
Okay. So, so I'm not very happy about this constitution of medical boards, actually, These boards are constituted as gynecologists, pediatricians, surgeons, physicians, cardiologists, radiologists, and all that kind of a thing. Now here there is a technical glitch over here. I have pointed this glitch in my submission to the Supreme Court, and I will talk about that glitch over here just now. If we look at the Termination of Pregnancy Act, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, there is a definition of somebody called RMP, and who is an RMP under this particular act is basically a person who has got a postgraduate qualification, obstetric gynecology, or a diploma qualification, or at least 6 months of house post after MBBS. That is the minimum qualification that is required for a person who is RMP under the MTP Act. Only those RMPs are supposed to provide for these services of MTP. Now let me make you understand. People who are sitting in the board, say a pediatrician, does he have a qualification in obstetric gynecology? No. Has he done a post in gynecology? Usually no. A cardiologist, same story, usually no. A radiologist, usually no. So do you understand the meaning that people who are not technically fulfilling the criteria of RMP under the MTP Act are finally going to decide about whether termination should be done or no? So ideally what should have happened was that there should have been a committee of maybe 3 gynecologists who are aided by all these people to come to a conclusion, because gynecologists are the people who are registered medical practitioners under MTP Act, and registered medical practitioners under MTP Act can only decide whether they are government servants or otherwise about whether MTP should be done or no. I've been asking a cardiologist that kya lagta hai iska MTP karna mangta hai ki? Cardiologist will say, I have never done an MTP in my life, right? I only can tell you about the seriousness of the abnormality in the fetus. But how will I be able to give you an overall opinion about, how safe it is, how risky it is, what methodology should be done for termination of pregnancy? I've never ever performed a single MTP in my life. And because of this, what might happen, and we have had these practical experiences, that's why I'm saying that good number of times opinions of these boards have just simply gone haywire just because of the fact that they are totally deficient in the knowledge of how the medical termination of pregnancy is going to be performed. Today, you ask a question to a cardiologist, how will he terminate 26 weeks pregnancy? He has no clue how it is going to be terminated, but he was never ever done an MTP in his life. And hence, I would say that this is one major lacuna as far as this board is concerned. Well, somebody has written in the chat box that OBGYN is taught as a subject in curriculum of MBBS. I agree, but definition of RMP under the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act says that MBBS is not enough. You have to have MBBS plus postgraduate qualification, diploma qualification, or at least 1 post in the obstetrics and gynecology. So that is the requirement of law for the purpose of doing MTP. Only MBBS is not enough. So just by saying that MBBS has in curriculum has got obstetrics and gynecology is not going to be enough. So that is one thing that I wanted to kind of talk about. Now, I already spoke about how are we going to deal with a 26-weeker, 12 years old pregnant woman. And again, we will have to go to the court, and I will continue to go to the court at some point of time once again and highlighting these kinds of things. But the whole idea of making the law was that women don't need to go to the court primarily, so that element is still not closed. Now, there are few very, very crucial things that I am going to talk about in next maybe 5 or 7 minutes, and then we will take questions. I completely agree with what Dr. Sharma said, that the word termination of pregnancy ought to have been defined in this particular law. Now, we have not used word abortion, maybe because we are very contentious about using the word abortion. So we wanted to use that, backdoor entry type of thing called medical termination of pregnancy. Now, what are you terminating? You are terminating the state of pregnancy of a woman. So that means if you are inducing labor for a woman, you can still consider that you are terminating the pregnant state of a woman. So then are you going to say that, well, if I am doing induction of labor because she is post-dated or something of that sort, she has gone beyond the due date, she has not started labor, so then should it be called as medical termination of pregnancy? Obviously, no. I mean, it is completely illogical. But the definition that has been given is giving us that kind of a meaning. Another very interesting corollary. Imagine a multifetal pregnancy, and in a multifetal pregnancy, there is one fetus which is abnormal. You are going to stop the heart of that particular fetus, and in short, you are going to kind of cause an abortion of that particular fetus. But the status of pregnancy of that woman is going to continue. So in such scenario, are you going to say that, oh, she has not lost her status of pregnancy, so that means there is no law which is governing her, and that's why it is not a medical termination of pregnancy? Is that what we are going to say? So that is the question. So medical termination of pregnancy ought to have been defined as a process which stops live birth on this earth, potential of live birth on this earth. So intention of medical termination is to ensure that there is no live birth that happens on this earth. That is what is a differentiator of medical termination of pregnancy, which is actually equivalent to abortion vis-a-vis other types of procedures. And that is completely lacking in this particular definition. That's a major concern that I have got. As regards termination of pregnancy beyond 24 weeks is concerned, I know what is going to come down the line, because in the affidavit which is filed in the ministry by the government of India, I told you in my case, they have given a whole picture, okay, whereby they have created permanent medical boards across various states. It is already there. Courts are already sending cases to these medical boards. All these 194 cases did go to these medical boards, and then with the help of the medical boards only terminations took place. So medical boards are available, at least in the metropolitan cities, they're available. The Ministry of Family Welfare has created a very long list of about 50-60 abnormalities. This list is a very long list, very exhaustive, and more covered in this particular list. And they have still kept some more loopholes, for certain syndromic things, etc., etc. So it's a very list which is available. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, audible.
Okay, all right. So what is going to happen is that henceforth, when these medical boards come across a case which is beyond 24 weeks, by far and large, they are going to confirm the diagnosis. They are going to look at the list of abnormalities. If this lady fits into the list of abnormalities, they are not expected to apply their mind, actually. They are just simply going to say, okay, please go ahead and terminate the pregnancy because your case is fitting into that list. So that's not going to be much of a problem, because that's because of that list. But there are some very interesting problems that are going to come up. Imagine a scenario that I am terminating, say, Arnold Chiari type 2 malformation at 30 weeks of pregnancy. Now, if I am going to just induce the process of labor and get the baby out, then there is a very high chance that this baby will come out alive. And if the baby comes out alive, then what are we going to do? Because we decided to terminate the pregnancy. Intention was we do not want this child to survive. That's the whole intention. But we have actually landed up giving birth, and that to birth to a live human being. Then are we going to just do in this kind of a scenario? That's another very major question. But again, in the guidelines which are given by the ministry, answer has been given, and they have said that when you are terminating pregnancies beyond 24 weeks, one can follow international norms and the Royal College of Obstetricians Gynecologists guidelines, which means that you can go ahead and do a caseal injection in the heart, stop the heartbeats, and then induce the process and get a dead fetus out, so that this ethical, moral dilemma and even legal dilemma will not occur. So I am hoping that when these rules are formed, they are even more elaborate on these rules, so that this dilemma of getting a live birth and then not understanding what to do with this kind of a live birth, that picture will not come into the that issue will not come into the picture. Now, another difficult situation is going to be that let us imagine that you did at 30 weeks, you decided you put in a KCL or whatever, you got the baby out. Baby is out, baby is alive or baby is dead, You will have to give some certificate. Now, what certificate are you going to give? Are you going to give a certificate that it was a delivery? Are you going to dispose it off in medical termination of pregnancy? Because below 20 weeks and 500 grams, your biomedical waste disposal, people will take it away. But these filters will be 1 kilogram maybe or 1.2 kilogram. Then under what pretext are you going to dispose of this particular baby? Now imagine that 10,000 such cases of termination of pregnancy occur across Maharashtra state in a given particular month after this law is passed. Since nobody knows how to dispose of a fetus of a medical termination of pregnancy, the only thing that you will give is a stillborn certificate. So it means that number of stillborns in Maharashtra state will rise by 10,000 in a month. Now, are they actually stillborns or neonatal deaths? Actually, no. But what it will reflect onto the statistics is that, oh, look at this, Maharashtra state healthcare so bad, neonatal deaths have gone up by 10,000 or stillborns have gone up by 10,000. Okay, that's actually totally untrue. I mean, stillborns have not gone up by 10,000 because typically stillborn is something which is your level best, but the baby could not survive. Here, your intention is not that the baby should survive. Okay, but that's all going to get jumbled up, and that is going to skew our statistics in a completely wrong direction. And on these statistics, ultimately your healthcare spending takes place. So that's why we need to have a very long and a very big foresight to understand how are we going to classify such kind of births and how are we going to address such kinds of birth so that they do not wrongly inflate our statistics of our country. So that answer nobody has at this point of time. And then the last question that I want to talk about, and I was really hoping that this MTP Act will be able to address, that is the conflict between POCSO Act and the MTP Act or Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. That on one hand, you are putting so much of stress on confidentiality. On the other hand, you still continue to talk about girls between 16 and 18, that they come under POCSO and then police information becomes mandatory. Because of informing police arrest the boy who is probably her boyfriend, and the boyfriend's family comes to know that my son is arrested because that girl is pregnant. So ultimately, even if the doctor is not revealing the name of the girl, the society knows the name of the girl because of the circumstantial situation, and nobody has got any rule to catch some Tom, Dick and Harry on the road, okay, who will talk about that girl getting pregnant and receiving termination of pregnancy and all that kind of a thing. So how are in that case you are going to take care of the confidentiality of that girl? That question still remains to be unanswered. Sum and substance of the story, smiles on the face, but at the same time, few tears in the eyes is what is my situation after seeing the MTP Act amendments. There is still a lot of scope that is there for kind of making, fine-tuning these kind of things down the line. Hopefully, rules and regulations are not getting framed, and probably if we chip in collectively, then one can be able to make some kind of a difference. Even if not full difference, some kind of a difference is likely to be made. And in any case, my case is not yet withdrawn because my case is anyways on the policy matter. So I will be continuing to fight my case. Of course, I will be getting lesser opportunities, and I'm happy about that because I am also tired of going to the court. For last 12 years. I have been doing that work continuously. So lesser opportunities to go to the court, but I will be flagging these kinds of scenarios. And last thing that I missed on, okay, was that this whole relief that is created is primarily created for two categories of women. One is those who are rape survivors, single women, etc., and those who have got abnormal fetuses. But there have been so many such kinds of stories. Now, I have a story of two women in last 5-6 years. 50, nearly 49, 50 years old women, perimenopausal, having irregular cycles, have undergone a TL surgery in the past, went to the doctor that they have missed the period. Doctor said that you are perimenopausal, you don't need to do anything at all. And few months later, they find themselves to be 20 plus weeks pregnant. They have children who are at the age of marriage. One is going to get married just about few days later. And that woman at the age of 50 is now found to be pregnant, and she's absolutely not willing to give birth to that particular child. And again, for such kind of genuine scenarios, now she is not a rape survivor, she's not a single mother, the fetus is not abnormal, there's nothing of that sort. Okay, it's a plain case of failure of contraception. But it's not a simple case of failure of contraception of a young woman. It's a case of 50-year-old woman who is failure of contraception. Now, for such a woman, are we going to tell her, okay, no, it's now your plight. Sorry, you are beyond 20 weeks, so you must give birth. Doesn't matter. Even if you die after another 10 years, it's fine, you know, but you can't do anything about that. So those large sector of women again are completely left out of this particular amendment. So I think with those comments, probably I will like to end and probably take few questions from all the panelists.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Nikhil, for an elaborate presentation from the starting of the journey till what has happened, and still more things you want it to happen, and hope so that things as you are thinking in your mind comes for the benefit of the patient. So I would like to take some comments from Dr. Shivkumar Utture sir, Maharashtra Medical Council President, Chairman sir, and after that I will take some questions. Dr. Utture sir.
Yeah, good evening, Ashok. Thank you. And I think before I say anything, let me officially thank Dr. Nikhil Datar, because, you know, in medicine, we always like to say father of something. And if there is one father of these amendments, I think that is Nikhil, because I've seen him struggling with these cases for last many, many years. So I think on behalf of whole IMA, we must congratulate Datar for having fought tirelessly to get these amendments done, and it is because of him only I think the amendments have come into place. So thank you, Datar, for that. And just a few comments, if I'm not mistaken, I may be corrected, but I think this bill has been passed both in the Lok Sabha on the 17th of March 2020 and in the Rajya Sabha in 2021. So I think I'm not sure if it has been notified or not, but at least it has been passed in both on the floor of the House. So this
notified on 25th March.
25th March it is notified. Okay. So this is in existence as of now, but the ambiguity is there because a lot of things have been left saying that rules have to be still formulated and the rules are not formulated. Now, even recently I had presented in the National Action Committee meeting, and the day before, I think I must thank Datar for that also. I had a long discussion with him as far as what is not right in this bill. One more thing which both of them have said, and which I would like to add to this is, you know, this problem of these medical boards which are going to be held. You know, in these medical boards, they have said that there should be a gynecologist, there should be a pediatrician, and a radiologist or sonologist. And such other members as may be notified in the official gazette by the state government or the union territory. Now, what you have to understand over here is that the number of gynecologists may be enough, maybe pediatricians enough, but the radiologists and sonologists are not there in every nook and corner, especially in very small towns and, you know, villages and all that. Now, what do the ladies do if they have to go for that? Again, they'll have to travel all the way to some big center where this board is there, which has been notified by the state government. And what is going to happen is, you know, there's going to be a lot of red tapeism. They have not defined what is the time limit within which these boards are supposed to take the decision. So we do not know. See, unless all these people sit together, maybe that the board may not pass any judgment. And in these cases, as you know, all gynecologists would agree with me, that every day and every week is important, because the further the pregnancy goes, it is going to be more difficult to terminate it. It's going to have an effect on the health of the lady also. So that is something I think we should fight for also. And let me tell you that though the minister on the floor of the House said that IMA and Foxy both have been taken into confidence when this bill was brought, let me tell you, I have spoken to a few office bearers of Foxy, and I think Datar will also agree with me. Foxy, I don't think has been asked for any details. IMA has definitely not been asked, and therefore we have written our objections to all this officially also. The headquarters IMA has sent these objections to just like all those which Nikhil and both Dr. Sharma have said, those objections have been sent to the central government. So let us see what the central government does. But as already said, getting an amendment done, Nikhil has been fighting for, I think, 12-15 years. Getting an amendment done is very difficult. So let us hope that common sense prevails amongst the lawmakers, and all these queries that we have got, genuine queries to help these ladies. I think that should come. As far as the question of confidentiality is concerned, I think if I'm not mistaken, in the old bill there is no mention of this confidentiality clause. So what basically has been mentioned in the old bill, if you see, is which section is it mentioned? I'm not aware which section it has been mentioned. But this confidentiality clause is something which I think is good. Maybe it requires a little bit of tweaking, but it is a good clause where the woman's rights are maintained in this, and I think that should be there also. The clause should be there. Only thing is, in some few cases, as Nikhil has already pointed out, there is a breach in confidentiality, especially if the woman is below or the girl is below 18 years of age. Then who is responsible for that? And as you know, today what is happening is, for any and everything, the doctors are getting held responsible for everything. So tomorrow it should not be that you complain to the police because it comes under the Pakso Law Act, and then the doctor is held responsible that the confidentiality is not there. So these are the few things I think we should continue fighting. Both Foxy and IMA should fighting for these clauses to be put in. But overall, I think this is a bill which was required to come, especially to give some relief to the woman. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Gitendra, you had
Sir,
mentioned.
thank you very much. Sir, Shivkumar sir, I am highly obliged for your comments and your encouragement. I think that is going to be like an encouragement for me. That's going to be like an oxygen for me for a few years to come, because coming from a senior veteran surgeon like you, and more particularly an IMA official, and even more particularly President of Maharashtra Medical Council. So I think it really means a lot to me. Thank you very much. Thank you. Seriously, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Dr. Gitendra Sharma, in your talk, you mentioned that RMP definition is going to be defined by rules and regulation creator. So do you feel the central government might change the RMP definition through this rules and regulation part?
Yes, sir. I would like to quote a few comments, give a few comments. First of all, in presence of Dr. Utture, I am fortunate to give my opinion so that it will be definitely passed on wherever it should be. So thank you very much, sir. First of all, regarding, we all know that RMP was defined in MTP Act in two ways. That first was up to 12 weeks who can do, and in between 12 to 20 weeks who can terminate the pregnancy. Now in MTP Act itself, it was not clear that whether the person who is qualified to do termination up to 12 weeks, whether that person can opine for termination up to 20 weeks or not. So that was not clear in that. So now, as if only one opinion only up to 20 weeks termination was allowed, then I think the clause will definitely come that the person who was eligible to do terminate up to 20 weeks will only be allowed to give opinion, and the person who was eligible to do termination up to 12 weeks will not be allowed to do termination up to 20 weeks. So that is my say. Let us see what comes later on in the rules. Second thing, that as Datar sir has mentioned, that nothing is clear regarding the disposal of that aborted material. So let me clarify that in biomedical waste rules, it is clearly mentioned. Now they have not mentioned 20 weeks or 500 gram, but in biomedical waste rule, they have categorically mentioned that whenever termination is been done according to MTP Act, okay, it can be disposed of in biomedical waste. Now, till today, it was 20 weeks. MTP was allowing termination up to 20 weeks. So till today, on 20 weeks, whether it was 600 gram, 400 gram, up to 20 weeks, if you terminate, then that fetus could have, you can definitely dispose of in biomedical based tools. Now, the rules will remain same. So if MTP will be allowed up to 24 weeks, then you can be able to dispose of that material according to biomedical based rules up to 24 weeks in that. So that is clear. Now, I will also comment in one issue, that particularly in regard to fetal reduction. Now, we all know that still that loophole is there. It has not been clarified in MTP Act that whether fetal reduction is to be considered as MTP or not. And as far as our definition is concerned, we are continuing with the pregnancy, so it should not be, and there is no expulsion of fetus from vagina. So that means that it should not come. So let us not discuss this in details, because as it is not clear, nobody can be punished for the same. So let us not discuss from our side the issue, which is not there at all. Second thing, MTP was basically, when it was formed in 1971, it was according to Shantilal Shah Committee's opinion where this act was framed. And the basic object of this act was, it was a protective act. Means it was protecting gynecologists who are terminating the pregnancy following all the guidelines of MTP Act. That means up to 20 weeks. So that was a protective act, and punishment was not the basic object of this act. Now, we all know in 2003, Section 5 was added in MTP Act, and various punishments which were not there now added. And last but not least, that recently 5A is added for the breaching of confidentiality. That means now MTP Act has become punishing act from the protective act. So the basic object is lost now. It is going to punish the doctors. They have added the punishments for the doctors. Rather than protecting doctors, it is becoming a punishing act. So that is the change going on in the MTP Act. And there is a need to protect the doctor rather than punishing doctors through these protective acts. So last but not least, if you will allow me to speak for 1 minute more,
yes.
Regarding Anenkefali, I will always tell, and I always represent in that way, that definitely a case can be filed against doctor if doctor has terminated Anenkefali patient after 20 weeks. But till date, there is no conviction, one. And second, see, MTP Act is a protective act, which protects you up to 20 weeks. Now, about 20 weeks, there is IPC, which will be applicable on you. That is Indian Penal Code, which will be applicable on you. And in Indian Penal Code, it is clearly mentioned that if you do some treatment on the patient with consent, according to the textbooks, then it is not a crime. So if you terminate, if you read any of the textbook, it is said that you can terminate Anenkefali as soon as it is diagnosed. That is the treatment given in the textbooks. So if you follow your textbooks, it is not a crime and no IPC can be applicable. Although MTP may not protect you after 20 weeks, but definitely under IPC, you cannot be held liable for terminating Anenkefali as far as you are following your textbooks, you are doing with consent something. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I don't want to really take that debate unnecessarily, because that's not really so very important, because we all agree with the fact that Anenkefali has to be terminated. Whether it is legitimate and legal under the framework or no, that is the question. First and foremost, all international textbooks, if you read, it is always written that termination of pregnancy in accordance with the law of the land. That is what is written. So nowhere in medical textbooks it is written that Anenkefali needs to be terminated, first of all. Second important thing, the fact is, yes, I completely, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Dr. Sharma said this, that beyond 20 weeks, Indian Penal Code gets applied. Beyond 20 weeks according to the old standard. So again, the same story, that if there is no immediate risk to the life of the woman, you cannot terminate beyond 20 weeks. So it is a very dichotomous situation that medically you know that termination of pregnancy only the solution, but the law is not supporting you, and that's why this whole trouble was there. Now trying to go into that conviction and case filing, I would say how many cases have been filed in the first of all. I mean, how many cases have been filed and then how many convictions? Cases only will not find being filed, you know, in an anencephalic baby. So if you don't file a case only, from where would conviction come, right? And there is no need for people to file the cases. But that doesn't mean that the law has changed. Law was never supportive to it. Now the law has become supportive to it. Anyways, amendment has come. So I think that discussion should be ended over here on that front, because amendment has already happened on that front.
Point taken, sir. I think so. MTP, the main intention was to give the woman a safe option of getting aborted through a qualified person, so that she has a least chances of dying or a complication. So the lawmaker should make it more doctor friendly also, so that
Absolutely.
more and more doctors do MTP. Otherwise, it will be a scenario where doctors will start refusing MTP, and these patients again will land up with quacks. And the whole intention of creating the MTP law, I think so, will go in vain, which also lawmakers has to be convinced, so that they unnecessarily don't make very harsh punishment like 1 year imprisonment for the doctor, and the moment one doctor gets arrested or something happens, all other gynec people will stop. As in past, there was one incident when MTP with TL was done, and there was some rumor that people had stopped doing TL, they had MTP ke saath TL nahi karenge. So government, I think so, should do, and we have state and national leaders also, and Uttarakhand also, who should convince the lawmakers and the government that this issue. Sir, one more issue I wanted to discuss before I take some questions from the question and answer session. A lot of time gynecologists get patients not 20 and 24, but maybe 16 weeks, 18 weeks, 19 weeks, where the double marker, quadruple marker is suspicious, NT scan is suspicious. Patient doesn't want to go for higher test because the patient is not affording. Now the gynec feels, I want to terminate. Patient has a female child in the past. Gynec is worried the medical officer might harass him because there is no concrete evidence. So under what indication they can terminate the pregnancy, the gynec, and also anything specific they have to do in the paperwork to make themselves more safer, to protect them not only from MT, from all the medical officers also. Both Dr. Gitendra Sharma and Nikhil Datar can.
Yeah, regarding basically congenital malformation, double marker or triple marker or quadruple marker, whenever any adverse report comes in your hand, it is always advisable to document that what you are counseling to the patient. So what is your role? Your role is not to decide whether to terminate the pregnancy or not. But your role as a gynecologist would be to inform the patient that what percentage of chances are there for a male, for a child to be anomalized. So if patient is not ready for further investigation, document it properly. And if patient wants to terminate the pregnancy, terminate it according to your reports. That continuation of pregnancy may lead to abnormal child. So under that indication, you can definitely terminate up to 20 weeks till date with the opinion of 2 gynecologists, not less than 2 RMPs. Rather,
yes,
not
yes, yes. There is the one, I'll start taking questions from the question answer box. Who is the person in authority of law? Dr. Vijay Karale had asked, either police or the government official who come for the regular inspections.
So basically, I mean, your health department will come for regular inspections. And if there is any kind of a case that has been filed against you or a complaint is filed where you have come into the picture, then generally police will come into the picture. But both are government officials, technically. Both can come as per the need. It's a division of work that has been given to them.
Sir, can I opine?
Yes, yes.
Sir, there is a little bit difference of opinion, although it is very rare to have a difference of opinion with Dr. Nikhil. But whatever the CDMO, that is Chief Medical Officer, the powers given to the Chief Medical Officer during inspection, it is mentioned that whether the abortions are done in hygienic condition or not, that is to be examined by that committee, district committee, or by the CMO, Chief Medical Officer. So they cannot demand the documents regarding the patient's name. They have no authority. Yes, definitely, police is an authority. So if they have order, they give you in writing that as far as the rights of police or duties of police according to criminal procedure code to investigate in a particular case. So if this information is required as per law, and if police gives you in writing, or if police has been given authority by the court to investigate in a particular case, and if they are ready to give it in writing, see, some police person comes and demands you should not give, but you should ask from him in writing that he is demanding as authority of law and under what authority is demanding. Then you can definitely give the information of the patient, and then the duty to make that maintain the confidentiality will be the burden on the police. Same thing is there in POXO Act. We were discussing what is the discrepancy in between MTP and POXO Act. So in POXO Act also, if you go through section 19 subsection 1, it is a duty put on the head of a medical practitioner to inform police. But immediately in next section, that is section 19 subsection 2, it is mentioned that police has to keep confidentiality. So the burden of maintaining the confidentiality shifts on police also. So they can also not divulge the name publicly. Okay, even this duty is being kept on media person also. So media person are also not supposed to divulge any name or any identity of the person minor who is involved in POXO Act. So definitely POXO Act is a very good act, and the responsibility of keeping confidentiality lies on everybody, police, media person, and anybody who is involved in POXO Act. So that is my.
Then one more interesting question is there: how to preserve confidentiality when patient wants MTP with tubal ligation?
So very nice question. These are all practical issues. See, whenever you go to some corporate hospital, okay, where they have now common this electronics platform, okay, so it is very difficult to maintain confidentiality because all records of indoor patient are available on that particular system. And many people who are not gynecologists can access because they are given code to access. So they can see that who has admitted. Now, if you will give you a particular code to MTP patient, then everybody will be able to visualize that who has undergone MTP. And it will be very difficult to maintain the confidentiality. Same thing happens whenever you do MTP with TL. Because if patient demands certificate for TL, will you write in that MTP plus TL or TL only? That is a difficult question to be addressed. So although in MTP Act it is mentioned that if patient herself demands certificate, then you have to take it in writing from her that I am demanding with name the certificate, and that will not amount to breach of confidentiality. But if she demands only TL certificate and she does not want to divulge her name that she has undergone MTP, whether you will write in the name of operation MTP plus TL or only TL. If you will write TL, then you are hiding something. So on both sides, there will be problem for you. So these are difficult situations and needs to be addressed.
Sir, as a matter of fact, in the whole of the medical paraphernalia, there is only one such kind of a scenario where you are supposed to hide the name of the person. So the person sitting on the counter, a non-medical man sitting on the counter, the day you tell him कि इसका नाम नहीं लिखने का है, इसका नंबर लिखने का है, by itself means that this lady has come for an MTP for him. So then where is the question of you being able to maintain the confidentiality? So I think, so again, the same story that we need to, now as Dr. Sharma rightly said, okay, suppose tomorrow somebody demands a bill from me.
Yes.
What do I write? Do I write MTP or no? Because there is the rule which says that at no other place except Form 1, Form C and admission register, patient's name should be mentioned. That is what is written. Okay, so then the question is discharge card pe kya likhne ka, bill ke upar kya likhne ka, even certificate. Sharma sir, what he said, that they have classically said that this certificate, if the woman is an employed woman and she wants the certificate for the employer, But suppose for any other indication she wants a certificate, what are we going to do? How are we going to write a prescription to her for her medications? Again, Sharma sir did raise that question. So these are all unanswered questions. And I think the theme ultimately comes down to the same thing, that the people who are on the ground, if they are not adequately represented or they do not strive to represent themselves in front of the lawmakers, then you will never be able to make laws which can actually stand in the interest of the people who are working, whether they are patients or their healthcare providers.
So if the lawmakers are convinced
Can I
whether
add
these
one
things,
thing?
yeah, sir. Sharma.
Sir, regarding confidentiality, Dr. Datar sir has mentioned that only MTP Act says that record. It is not like that, because recently so many medical councils, state medical councils have given judgment against many doctors, where they have divulged the information of the treatment given to wife, to the husband even,
Absolutely, absolutely.
without her consent. So basically, you are supposed to maintain confidentiality of all the patient. So that is the thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So we will take only 2 more questions. It's 10:30. Anencephaly diagnosed at 28 weeks is not terminated, but labor induced for maternal indication for polyhydramnios with abnormal baby, isn't it? Will law consider this as a case is filed if there is PPH?
You want me to answer?
Anybody can.
Yeah. So my answer to you will be that if at all you are inducing for polyhydramnios, I would say that if you are finding an indication, okay, if you are finding an indication, then that too you can say that she has come in labor and delivered naturally. Why do you want to even find an indication? It is not about finding an indication. It is about a bare fact that the truth has to prevail. If the truth is that she is anencephaly, she needs to be terminated, law needs to support you. You need not find a cause for such kinds of things. That is what is the crux of the matter. Otherwise, why do you even require to say that you have induced? You can say that she came in labor on her own and she delivered preterm. Why do you even require to find an indication for it? So it is not about finding an indication. It is about the fact that law should support what the doctor medically needs to do and what is in the interest of the woman. Law should be supported.
So on lighter note, even Nikita Mehta aborted at 26 weeks on her own.
It was an IUFD,
yes,
to be very honest.
I am not, sir,
conducted by me.
anything. On lighter note.
Yeah, I think so. It's already 10:30. I'll take only. I'll just one more comment. I'll just do what. See, already we have missed the bus, etc. Already has been told by Gitendra Sharma and Nikhil both. Whether how much more energy or power we have to use if we want get the rules and regulations at least doctor friendly, so that we don't get exploited by this inspection team. Because as now, before it was only 1,000. Now, if it is like punishment of 1 year, how much misuse or if there is ambiguity left would be used to harass the doctors, which I am more worried. So whether how much more energy and power we will require, because already Utture sir has told that the National Task Force has forwarded. Gitendra Sharma himself is now Vice President FOXI 2022. What more you want, so that we all can request our associations? Now this is the last moment, because once the rules regulations are also notified, then after that nothing is left to do except conducting webinars and making people aware what rules and regulations are there. Nothing else. So suggestions from Nikhil and Gitendra both, because as a last note, what more we can do, and whether their interpretation, whether we'll be able to convince the lawmakers.
We can only request our senior people who are post holders in Indian Medical Association, because that is the largest body of representing the doctors. And second, FOXI, who is representing all the gynecologists of India. So these are the two biggest body, and it is leave the politics apart. It is our humble request that these two bodies should come forward and put forth the requisition, which is accept rather you can get the advices from the medical legal experts, and whatever advices you get from the people like Dr. Nikhil Datar or some other medical legal expert, you should forward it in a genuine manner. Okay, so that is our request to all senior members from IMA and Foxy.
Dr.
Just
Shukla.
one question I'll ask, then let the stalwarts leaders ask, because there is one interesting question one of the member WhatsApp me. So a lot of time now during second trimester abortion, they use Mifis and Misoprostol, and sometimes they give Mifi to the patient and send home कि आप 12 घंटे बाद आ जाओ या 8 hours 10 hours के बाद आ जाओ, and then they admit and then start the Miso. When should they enter the patient's name in the MTP master or the C form, the date and time, because they have given the tablet, so they have initiated the process. So whether they should, because she is not IPD that time, she is going home. So just guidance to this member what to do in such cases, or whether they are doing is should not be mentioned.
So basically,
So my counter,
please, sir.
my counter question to the member who has asked this question is very simple. That when do you enter the name of the person on that particular form? When you are giving Mifi Miso to a first trimester lady at 7 weeks or 6 weeks. Suppose if at all I am prescribing Mifi Miso and I tell the woman that you go to the shop, medical shop, and buy Mifi Miso, घर पे जाओ, घर पे जाके पानी के साथ में Mifi खाओ. So do you tell her to come back after taking Mifi and then you enter the name? Answer is no. You enter the name and then give the prescription. The same thing needs to be done for second trimester MTP also. Now let me tell you a little bit that there are some downloadable rules or guidelines, okay, put by Minister of Family Welfare regards MTP is concerned, and unfortunately, the so-called guidelines that have been put for second trimester MTP by Ministry of Family Welfare does not allow you to give Mifi for second trimester MTP. Unfortunately, I mean, I know that it is a standard practice across the world. It works out brilliantly well, but unfortunately, that guideline is missing onto use of Mifi in second trimester MTP. So beware
Careful
when you are doing such kind of a thing. And coming back to your first question, Ashok, I would say something which I had said 12 years back, that if we want to make a change in the system, we have 3 different ways as citizens of this country. One is appealing to the judiciary, second is appealing to the administrative wing, third is appealing to the legislative wing, and fourth is appealing to the 4th column of democracy, that is media. So if we at back end integrate and create teams, you know, somebody like me who goes behind them in Supreme Court, somebody who kind of continues negotiations with them, somebody else talks to the media on this front, and somebody else does this whole activity of maybe some political people who are involved in the organization can do that with the political wing. Okay, only then can we actually change the law in a quicker and a faster time. Otherwise, it's going to be for changing rules and regulations another 12 years, by which time I will be retired long time back from the practice also.
Yeah, Dr. Shukla.
Yeah, please, sir, come in.
One thing, there is again one more loophole in MTP Act. We should keep one lecture on loopholes in MTP Act. Okay, that will be a fine thing.
Uttare sir will not allow me. He'll say you are making people aware.
Yeah. So there is a loophole in MTP Act. On one side, they have said that you should fill the name as soon as the process starts. Okay, so when you give MEFI, the name should be put. Okay, now it is mentioned in rules regulation that when you fill form 1, opinion form, when to fill the opinion form. So there they mention that you should fill within 3 hours of completing the abortion process. Now, if you have given mifepristone today, you have not admitted the patient, now patient is lost. So whether you have completed the abortion or not, you are not knowing. So whether that name is to be, form 1 is to be filled or not, you don't know. So there are so many loopholes, many clarifications are required in MTP rules and MTP Act itself. So we can definitely discuss what are the loopholes in MTP Act, and that will be a great meeting for this.
Dr. Shukla.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Shukla, my compliments to Dr. Sharma and Dr. Datar also. And In one of the judgments, probably I remember in Pattuswamy judgment of Supreme Court of India, the privacy as a fundamental right of woman, it is clearly, categorically said. But in this MTP Act, which is recently amended, it has not given due importance to the privacy of a woman. Okay, looking at the coming into the way of the autonomy of a woman and confidentiality of women and other things. And overall, looking at the discussion, what I came to know that the pregnant woman's rights to abort her pregnancy is not at all an absolute right. Okay, unlike it is there in Canada and Singapore and some of the countries. Okay, and the gist of this, probably they were trying their best to bring it into picture what was there in the Canada and the Singapore, but partially they were touched it. And that right must be balanced in the existing law of the land, should be balanced against the compelling state interest. Okay, by protecting the mother's health and the life of the born or unborn child. So many times you have seen, I have given anesthesia as an anesthesiologist, and termination of pregnancy 24 weeks or 26 weeks, and the moment the live baby fetus is extracted by any other means, we see it hours together, even half a day, screaming, crying, whatever the agony is, but they try to push it without anybody's knowledge and dump it in the what you call is a BMW, whatever it is. So these things have to be curbed, and some mechanism has to be brought into picture, ethically, legally, morally, religiously. It has to be countered, which is not touched in this act, I believe.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Utture sir, for the comments, because now rules and regulations are going to be formed.
Yeah, see, basically, this is a very sensitive point. See, if you remember, I mean, if you're aware, any act, any rule, regulation, or for that matter, any amendment also, there is a lot of time gap between when it is, the draft is there and when it is introduced on the floor of the house. And it goes through a particular process. Because I'm in the government concern, I know how that process is. It takes a long time. Now, during that time, they always call some experts for discussion and comments. So, unfortunately, what is happening is maybe it is a ego hassle, or maybe the political problem between organizations and associations, and then intra-organization also problems. We find that the real experts in that field are not represented over there in the government mechanism. And that is where we get hit, because of this. Like, to just give you a simple example, if you see the PCPNDT Act when it came, and if you see who were on the board to formulate that draft, there were members of FOXI, there were members of IMA also. And today, you know what is happening because of the PCPNDT, how people are suffering. So what were these individuals doing over there sitting and, when the draft was being made? Maybe these individuals were not having that background to really think about what would happen in the future. And that's why they didn't put down their, vehemently put down their objections to that. So I have been appealing, and I think all the organizations to take unto themselves that today, whenever any new act comes, whenever it is put in the public domain, I think the associations should get together, formulate a team of experts amongst their members, and come out with something like a white paper which is submitted to the government beforehand, trying to find, to fight an act or an amendment or a rule after it has been notified is extremely difficult, because government is not at all interested in doing that, because they have to go through the whole process again to do that, and they feel that it is not worth the trouble. So just like how you said, what we should do, I think we should learn to work together, to have experts on that panel to help us out, because, like, for instance, Utture cannot be expert in every field. It is impossible. It's not possible. Like how in MTP, Datar has been working for so long on that. But I don't know if Datar will agree. I don't think he has been called in any of these meetings which were held with the central government to really talk about, what could be the problems with the amendments. So that is where we are lacking as an organization and an association. And that is how And this is, I'm not talking about only this act, I'm talking about almost all the act. We have to learn to be proactive, not reactive after the amendments come in, like how we are doing today. Be proactive and try to see to it that these detrimental clauses do not come in that act. So I think somehow the leaders have to listen to this and come on a common platform to tackle this problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Gitendra Sharma, sir, Dr. Nikhil Dadar, sir, Dr. Shivkumar Utre, sir. I would request Dr. Ramakrishna Londe, sir, IIM Maharashtra State President, to give his final comments. Then I will give the thank you. Dr. Londe, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, which is very good interaction.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I would like to thank again our speakers, IMA state leader, national leaders, Maharashtra Medical Council President, Dr. Shivkumar Utre, sir, IMA Maharashtra State President, Dr. Ramakrishna Londe, sir, Dr. Pankaj Bhandarkar, sir, Honorary Secretary, Dr. Santosh Kadam, sir, Dr. Alka Kute. It's very good when we see so many state and national leaders join, because as Dr. Utre, sir, told, we have to introspect and then we have to find how earlier we can act, so that better the act is more doctor friendly, or at least I'm not saying it is both, for both consumer as well as the person who's doing, the provider. If both are happy, then only things will be better made. Thanking you from my side. If anybody wants to give a comment, or thank you. It's already 10:45. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Jai IMA. Jai.
Thank you. Happy Holi.
Happy Holi.
Thank you, everyone, sir. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Holi.
Thank you, DigiShield, for
Okay.
giving the platform.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dipen.
Thank you, Utre, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
night. Good night. Thank you.
Good night, sir. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Utre sir. Bye.
Sir,
Thank you.
Dr. Shivkumar.
Shall I end the meeting?
Ashok,
Yeah.